Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Maker. During the last part, I covered one viewer submitted level, as well as a whole bunch of levels that I found by exploring the most popular queue. So in this part, I'll be sampling at least 5 or 6 levels that I found in the Mega Maker official forum's level sharing subforum. So let's begin with this one, which is Flying Battery by Deklou. 19 plays and a score of 9, so let's do it. And as the name suggests, this is going to be a recreation of the Flying Battery Zone from Sonic & Knuckles, from Mega Man's point of view, that is. As usual, if you want one of your levels to be featured in a future part of this Let's Play, please leave the name or ID of the level in the comments section below, or direct message me on Twitter. And also, the full list of what I'm looking for in each of these levels, as well as a full disclaimer, can be found in the link in the description below. So let's begin this. Okay, we start without enemies for now, and okay, nice introduction to those platforms as well. And as usual, I'm going to be commenting on the difficulty of the stage, how well the gimmicks are introduced, enemy placement, how fun the stage overall is, the aesthetics, etc. And my critiques will also be varying on the stage type themselves. So I'm going to be treating traditional Mega Man stages differently from, for example, Fortress levels, Challenge level, Kaiser levels, Special Weapon challenges, Pacifist stages, gimmicks, etc. It's only fair after all. I give my full reasoning in the disclaimer below. Okay, we only have Mega Man 2 physics, it seems. And the Mega Buster and Crash Bomber. Oh, I should have held right over there so I could get that secret. And that was my fault for trying to rush forward. Let's get on top of this footholder, which isn't moving at all. I can see what this is resembling. Unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of missing... Well, we can't directly replicate the gimmicks from the original Flying Battery Zone, so this is as close as it can be. Like, we don't have the propellers, for example. I see, if I actually made the jump over there on the left, I would have skipped the bottom segment there. This is also one of those locations where I really wish I had the ability to slide. I wonder what's on the left there. Now let me blow it up and see what's over there. I suppose it's a secret or something. Oh no, it's just the extra life, okay. Well, I guess it's sort of a secret. I wonder what was at the bottom over there. Probably an E-tank or something. After all, I'm kind of deciding that I'm going to be focusing more on sampling the stages rather than fully exploring them. Oh sure, for stages with multiple pathways and potentially secrets, or that I know there'll be secrets, sure, I'll open them up in the level editor, but other than that, I'll mostly be sampling them and see what they have to offer. That's a little bit of a sudden attack with the shield attacker. I really wish they actually gave me the ability to slide, so it wasn't so much of a tight jump. Sure, you can make the tight jump over those. Still, it's a little bit irritating to make. Also, unlike Sonic 3 and Knuckles, spikes are instant death. Whereas there, you just lose your rings. Here, well, you die. This is one of those... Oh, wow, that was a little bit of a sudden spike drop there. If there's one thing I'd also like to be added to the engine, it's the ability to make spikes non-instant death. Or rather, at least make it so that you can toggle it if it's going to instantly kill you, or rather if it's going to deal a set amount of damage that the player can set. Or at least set it to a set amount like instant death or 7 or 14 damage. Similar to Rock Force. And now we fight Sparkman, it seems. That was kind of a short stage. I was hoping for it to be a lot more expansive like the original stage was, but apparently that wasn't to be. And that's the end of Flying Battery Zone. It feels like half of the first act or something, or a half of an act. So I would have liked to see a Mega Man stage try replicating Flying Battery further, by making it at least double the length. But it was still nice, so I'll give it a thumbs up, Deklou. Good job. And they made a bunch of other levels too. Eventually I'll have to reach the point where I'll regrow through all the levels, or at least more levels by some of the authors I went through. That'll probably be a special edition or something. And speaking of going through levels of authors I've already done before, next up is Pungent Pipeworks by Mixsup, 15 plays and a score of 9. Now, as you may recall, Mixsup is the developer, or rather level designer, of Boy Yoyon Badlands and Titanite Tower. So let's see how, and I like those levels a lot, so let's see what this level has to offer. Thank you for giving me Mega Man 5 or 6 Charge Shot, Firestorm, Charge Kick, Shine, and Rush Coil, thank you. And we have the ability to slide as well. Wonderful. I'm curious what this has to, what's over here. I need a tank. It doesn't seem that hard to access, especially with the ability to jump. Neat, there's an alternate pathway as well. That's where it leads up to. Kind of a short alternate pathway, and it's rather easy to collect the C-Tank. I would have rather make it a little bit tougher to collect the E-Tank to make it more rewarding. And thankfully the Firestorm, the shield, can actually one-shot all of these octopus batteries. I would like to eventually see what the weakness affiliation, or at least the how strong or weak each of these enemies are to each of the special weapons. That would be really useful in speedruns. So we passed the first checkpoint mark over there. Nothing too difficult. It's on the easy breezy side, personally speaking. And now we finally get introduced to the spikes. I see, we need to quickly slide under here so we don't end up falling into the spike pit. Gradually, the level is getting more difficult after all. Now we have to worry about not getting hit by all these Skeleton Joes, as well as those whatever those enemy types are called. We have the shine to make it a lot easier, though. Oh yeah, those are ladders. Of course, the shine isn't the best against everything. It is rather weak against enemies who rely more purely on physical attacks, like those rollers. I somehow clipped through the first picket, but I didn't make it to the second one. What's over here? I'll take the left route because I want to see what's over there. I could either use the Rush Coil or Charge Kick's jumping ability in order to access it. Most of these secrets aren't that difficult to access, personally speaking, as long as you're on your feet. Or on your toes. And the checkpoint placement is rather generous, if you were to ask me. I'm not complaining. I'm not sure if this stage was actually built in mind with the upgraded Charge Kick's air jump ability. Oh yeah, I probably should be using the shine here. And there we go. Whoa. I switched to the wrong weapon there. Nothing too difficult, it was basically a timing challenge. Really, this stage feels like a more traditional Mega Man stage, although a little bit on the easier side with much less instant death. But it's nice, I don't mind every so often the easier stage. It feels a lot more, it feels like a breath of fresh air when I get to stages that don't have so much instant death or precision movement or precision platforming. It's always nice. Much less frustrating too. And we're at the end of the stage, a nice decently sized Mega Man stage. A little bit more on the fan game side in terms of level length, but still pretty nice. Nice level design, consistent usage of enemy placement, and gradual increase of difficulty. 2 thumbs up in both ways. And now time for the fight against SilverMan on this more creative battleground. What is his weakness? Okay, charge kick. In this battleground, it's not that difficult, thankfully. Especially because I have double E tanks. If there's one complaint about this level, it's kind of a minor one. It's that the collectibles or extra goodies are a little bit too easy to get. They're only one screen away, and the challenge for getting them is rather easy. It's certainly more difficult than this stage, but even then it feels a bit on the easy side. Still, 2 thumbs up for this level. It's currently my favorite level out of the bunch, out of the 2 I already tried, so good work, Mixsup. You definitely took what you learned from Boyo on Badlands and Titanite Tower and put it into Pungent Pipeworks. Eventually I will take a look at Boa Bombplex. Although personally speaking, I like Titanite Tower the most out of the 3 levels I've played so far by Mixsup. Third level on the lineup is Neocastle Siege by SilverMan, 28 plays and a score of 7. And this is going to be one of the bigger levels as well. Based off the description on the official forums, this is inspired by the traditional Mega Man level design, but it's filled with a bunch of alternate pathways. So it's going to be one of the larger ones that I think I'll need to replay it a few times, and potentially revisit it using the level editor. Mainly because I already know it's going to be a longer one because of the longer load times at the beginning of the stage. That's another suggestion I've been repeatedly asking for about this engine. Oh, I can't enter it here for some reason. I would like it so that if you go to the main page of each level, just before you start it, there will be a description or at least numerical value showing how many screens the stage has, so you can at least give a rough gauge of how long the stage will take to complete. That would be so helpful. Also, the completion rate of the stage, as well as the completion versus failure rate, that would also be really helpful in gauging how difficult the stage is. We have the Crash Bomber, Rush, Roll Cutter, Rolling Cutter, Firestorm, Charge Kick, and Top Spin. And we have the ability to slide, but we don't have charge shots, Mega Man 3 physics. If there's another addition I would like to see, it's more varieties of shield attackers. Because shield attackers originated from Mega Man 4, but the only shield attackers I see here, I believe, are from Mega Man 6. I would like to see more variety of the same enemy types, at least aesthetically. Nice usage of those who are more skilled at using the air jump ability, or double jump. More of these Yamasees. A little bit of careful platforming here, but nothing too problematic. Oh no, are these spikes? I don't want to find out here. If there's one thing, I would like to see spike-like objects that don't deal instant death damage. Like I said in the previous level, give the level designer's ability to determine whether the spikes deal instant death damage, or if they're non-lethal and deal a truckload of damage instead. Like what I did in my Mega Man 2 level, Conveyor Mayhem. Spikes over there deal only 7 points of damage. That's so it can make the stage a lot more forgiving. And those are instant death. I would have been a little bit ticked off if I died in the previous screen. Also, this explains why I couldn't access the door on the left side. It's completely barricaded. Well, I guess we took the roof in order to siege it. as I was saying, I made the spikes in my Megamel 2 level. Well, okay, that's one of the alternate routes you can take. If we took the left footholder, we would go down. Because we took the right footholder, we could slide it right. But as I was saying, I made my spikes in Conveyor Mayhem to be non-instant death, so that it was more forgiving towards the player. Rather, I set it about to be the same as the default settings in Rock Force, actually. That way, players can get through the stage without getting too frustrated, especially due to the abundance of spikes in several areas. That's an odd placement of the... That's an odd placement for those crystals from the Crystal Joes, if you were to ask me. At least these Yoku blocks don't telefrag me anymore. Thank you for fixing this major bug, level designers. Really helps. I can only imagine how much more frustrating it would be for players going to Kaizo levels with a lot more of those Yoku blocks. And thankfully we don't have Yoku spikes either. I suppose that alternate pathway would lead up to here. I will take a look at it eventually. I was expecting that to happen, but what I didn't expect was the fact that Mega Man just teleported off screen with lost all of his health, and there was no explosion sound effect. Or there was no explosion visual effect, I mean. Well, this is a neat gimmick. All these footholders are moving up and down, and we need to go through the stage as quickly as possible, or at least get through these save points so we don't end up getting skewered on these spikes. Or we don't walk into the spikes or get mashed into the wall itself. That's definitely a neat gimmick I would like to see. I haven't seen this before, and I would like to see it taken further in other Mega Man levels. Didn't quite time it right. Thankfully there's a checkpoint right over there, so checkpoint placement is good. I suppose though one suggestion would be to start these footholders going down, so players don't need to wait for a while before it goes back up. How did I fall right off there? Is the gap between the wall and the footholder that small? I mean that big? I suppose it is. Okay, that was a glitch too. I wasn't being crushed under the wall, but apparently I slipped through and got killed. Take 2 of this action. Apparently during my failed attempts off screen, I managed to get crushed against the wall against the footholder. I didn't believe that was possible, but apparently due to the glitchy nature of the footholders, it's entirely possible to get crushed against the wall on the right side. Footholders in general, it seems, against walls appear to be quite glitchy in this engine. We'll add that to the growing pile of bugs in this engine. It really should have had an alpha or beta pass before getting officially released, especially with all the bugs that were pre-existing before this version came out. I think that contributed to one of the main reasons this engine suffered from the hype backlash it did. Level designers seem to love using the rolling cutter for Nightman's weakness. That was the end of Neocastle Siege, at least the first pathway. It was a nice stage, nice placement of checkpoints, and nice introduction of gimmicks and difficulty, although the last section was kind of hampered mainly due to that glitch with how you could keep getting crushed against the ceiling and whatnot. But of course the stage isn't over just yet, it's time to explore the second pathway. Alright, I teleported back to this segment here. I'm now going to be exploring the alternate pathway that I missed earlier. Or rather, I took a different pathway. I'm using the level editor so I don't waste as much time. So instead of taking that second spinny top over there, I'm taking the bottom one. It seems strange why they gave us the ability to use the top spin. It doesn't seem to be as useful in this stage as much as the Firestorm, Rolling Cutter, and the Crash Bomber. Oh, and we're introduced to the footholder rising and falling segment right over here, but without as much of tight platforming and spikes. If anything, this should have been introduced before that a more difficult footholder segment up ahead on the other pathway, or at the end of both pathways. That would have been more appropriate if you were to ask me. I didn't die over there for some reason. That's really strange. Most of the time I would just get crushed, but there I didn't. Well, I'm now going to be exploring the bottom pathway over there, see what it has to offer. We already know where that links up to over the left. I thought I was going to be killed over there, but apparently not. Oh, neat, an entirely different pathway with a checkpoint. I didn't expect that to happen. We have this falling segment here, which is a lot scarier than it looks. And if we took the left one, we would have gotten an M-tank. This is quite barricaded, and we need to use 2 crash bombs in order to get through. By taking this more difficult route, well, more difficult is your mileage may vary, we get to skip the fight against Nightman, and just exit the stage using the energy element. That's neat. Pretty nice stage overall. I give 2 thumbs up to the developer. The 4th level on today's lineup is Frosted Toppings by Dom, 9 plays and a score of 2. I believe we played a level by Dom in the last part, that being one of the Windstorm gimmick levels, I believe, though I will double check after this. So this will be a mountainous frost level, and we're going to be fighting Top Man. Let's see, just Mega Buster, Sliding, and the Mega Man 4 Charge Shot. At least the Mega Man 4 Charge Shot cannot be interrupted like the Mega Man 6 Charge Shot can, so at least there is that. The best Mega Buster, of course, is from Mega Man 5 because it has a bigger Charge Shot radius, and it can never be interrupted or dissipated by getting hurt by enemies. Okay, so this is going to be a traditional style Mega Man stage where you start up with no special weapons at all. Nothing too difficult so far, but jumping on these frost blocks is a little bit challenging, especially with all the Yamasees, hoppers, and Metools or Metars. I need to double check the names of all these enemies though, I'm starting to forget. Gotta be a little bit careful though because of all the spikes at the bottom. But for a player like me, it isn't too bad. Sorry, there was a little bit of a lag over there. A little bit of a tighter jump here. Not too bad. Whew, I thought I was going to get hit by those spikes. Thankfully there's a checkpoint right over here. I would complain more about the checkpoint placement, but the initial crawl was rather easy, so I'm not going to. Would have liked the introduction of these platforms, the falling blocks to happen in safer territory. But if this is designed to be more like a fortress stage, I don't mind as much. But I'm treating it more like a traditional Mega Man stage, mainly because we don't have any special weapons. Whereas in a fortress stage, or even a special stage, like one of the special challenges in Mega Man 9 or Mega Man 10, well, over there you have access to special weapons, so that's why I treat it differently. Here we don't, so we have to. That's why I treat it like a traditional stage. And in that case, the gimmick should be introduced in a safe fashion first before putting it in more difficult situations. In this case, that would mean introducing the falling blocks in a safe environment, not over bottomless pits or instant death spikes. The same with these tops, after all. That was my fault for not paying attention. I was looking at the background and the Met. But in essence, that, oh, and also you shouldn't put the Met tool right over there, right when you teleport in. The player can easily get ambushed over there and take force damage. But both the tops and falling platforms should be introduced in a safer environment, where you don't have a chance of falling into instant death spikes, or off the screen itself. Like here, if you fall off the top at the wrong point, you'll fall to the bottom of the screen, or you'll die because you'll fall into, you may fall into spikes. And if you're wondering, I call the Mega Man 1 Met's Met tools because they just get out of their unhide their Met helmet and shoot at you. Whereas the other one, the Mega Man 2 Met tools, or Mets, they'll actually get out of their shell and then walk towards you. Well, they'll get out their helmet, shoot at you, and then walk towards you. That's how I distinguish the two. I'm just damage boosting off the Ben K. No need to fight it again. If I took the left route and actually fell by where that falling platform was, I would have been able to access that M-Tank. I'm always a little bit cautious because if you do a minor if you suddenly do a major walk, which can be quite easy, especially with the controller I'm using, you can easily get shunted quite a few distance because of how the slippery ice works. Thank you for putting a checkpoint right over here in case you fall to your doom over there. Really appreciate it. These perilous jumps are even more perilous when you can take into consideration that these blocks are frozen. That's why, or icy. That's why I keep tap jumping everywhere. And I wasn't quite at the edge of that platform. That's why I failed. At least the checkpoint placement is pretty good, so I'm not complaining. And really, most of the errors I'm having making through these stages are, I feel are my fault. This and the previous 3 stages that I went through, I don't feel like the stage is too difficult. I feel that they're geared towards my skill level or just below it. Which I do appreciate from time to time. Okay, top man, and we have gotta be careful so you don't fall in the spike pit over there. Oh wow! I didn't realize... Okay, I need to pay attention to that. Apparently, top man can bounce off the spring and go back all the way up there. That's certainly a big change. Oh, I didn't realize I can actually activate the spring while the boss is moving. Well, it isn't that hard to dodge, actually. I gotta be careful though so I don't fall in the pit or take my way too far up. Basically, I don't want to bounce off the spring so I don't get killed or embed myself in the ceiling. This boss fight is a lot easier than I'm making it look. I'm just being rather clumsy. Once you get the hang of where Top Man bounces, it's not too bad. For a boss who jumps around a lot more like Napalm Man, this will be a lot more difficult. Well, I certainly love this stage. Good work, Dom. Though you probably should introduce the gimmicks like the falling platforms and the tops in a safer environment, especially if you intended this to be more like a traditional Mega Man Roadmaster stage. Oh, you made Wily 1 Remake. That was the level I played yesterday. Fifth level on today's lineup is Submerged Cavern by LizardCommando, 15 plays and a score of 6. I think I played 1 or 2 levels by LizardCommando in the past, and I know that LizardCommando is one of the contestants or entries in the Mega Man 2 competition. At least, I think that's where they're from. Okay, Magnet Missile, Top Spin, Crash Bomber, Rolling Cutter, and the Mega Man 3 Mega Buster. Well, Mega Man 3 Physics. It's nice to hear some different Roadmaster teams every so often. Because I feel that for most of the levels I played, there are a whole bunch of, or a small set of Roadmaster teams that are constantly used in all sorts of levels. I haven't really heard much of a Centaur Man's stage team before. In fact, I don't remember hearing Centaur Man's stage team in anywhere actually. Maybe in the example levels, but outside of that, across the 120 levels I've completed or sampled or shown in this LP, I've never heard Centaur Man's team. I don't think I've ever heard Yamato Man's team either. And there are a whole bunch of, I think there's several Roadmasters teams who are barely heard. Specifically from Mega Man 4, 5, and 6. Mega Man 1, 2, 3, sure, I think I've heard Roadmaster teams from all of the Roadmasters from those 3 games. But in this one, from 4, 5, 6, I don't think I've heard everyone yet. Or I rarely hear them. I'm really liking the aesthetics though. the spike fall segment is a little bit scary though. Thank you for putting a checkpoint there. Plus that part where you keep jumping over those falling platforms can be a little bit of a problem, especially with all those potents dropping your heads. Really, those falling platforms should be introduced in a safer environment if you intended the stage to be more of a traditional Mega Man level, or traditional Roadmaster stage. And when I say you, I'm speaking directly to the level designer if they're watching this video, either soon or in the future. After all, a whole bunch of level designers did respond to my comments, and I always appreciate when they do respond. It's always nice to see what insights or ideas or what effort they put into making these levels. It's always appreciated. And you know I will be making a very long developer commentary in my level for Megamel, that being Conveyor Mayhem. Oh, it will be coming, I can assure you. Easier approach. After all, I don't have the Mega Bus, I don't have the charge shot, so I just might as well use the rolling cutter. I'm gonna make the jumps a little bit more friendly for me. Only problem with the rolling cutter, of course, it pierces sometimes a little bit too much. No, it's not far enough. I need to do the bomb jump. It's not too far, thankfully. We just need to be a little bit careful so we don't destroy too many pole eggs. Or so that we fall in the spikes or something. A little bit of a scary position, but it isn't too bad yet. After all, I do have things like the Magnet Missile to make this a little bit more manageable. This segment's a lot more scary than it looks, but if you take it slow and steady, it's fine. Same with this, actually. This one forces you to keep moving forward, especially with the hothead, but I could have taken it slower, but I'm acting more like a speedrunner. I think I can handle it. But you do need to keep moving on forward, especially because of all the falling platforms and the spikes at the bottom. Oh well, I should have jumped over him. That was my fault. But here, for example, I could have waited and destroyed the hothead and then moved forward. And there are points where I can take breaks, so I probably should be using those more often. Like here, for example. Okay, somehow I despawned that Skeleton Joe there. Not really complaining, though. Forgot this is the wrong place for that. Ah, I'm dead. Okay, let's see... Top spin. And now the Mega Buster. Phew, imagine if I got hit by that fireball over there. I would have died. And now, the fight against Stone Man for the umpteenth time. Nope, it's not the top spin this time. So it's the crash bombs. And that was the end of Submerged Cavern. Pretty nice stage, combining cave-like claustrophobic environments with water. Really, the main highlight for the stage was the water segment while destroying all the pole eggs, as well as the part where we had to keep sliding and shooting in order to make our way across. It's a nice overall stage, and I liked it. It's definitely my second favorite stage out of the bunch so far. My favorite, of course, would be either Pungent Pipeworks or Neocastle Siege. Time for the last level of this part, which is Jumping Jungle Jimjams by Kunosachiaka. Kunosachiaka. Apologies if I'm butchering her name. 9 plays and a score of 5. No bosses at the end. Only have access to the top spin. I think that this is going to be a top spin gimmick stage, I know it. Yep, we're going to be bouncing off of enemies. And I completely failed this first one. Let's try doing this correctly this time. And I have a hunch that the frequent checkpoint placement means that the stage is going to get a lot more challenging really soon. Thankfully no spikes yet, just a whole bunch of enemies. Oh darn, I should have... Yeah, I can't make the jump over there without that being closer. Unless I made a pixel perfect jump, probably. Well, the last checkpoint was only 2 screens away, so progress isn't going to be lost that easily. This stage is, after all, a challenge-based level, focusing on the top spin, and I believe it's going to be frequently quite difficult to get across some of these obstacles if you're not careful. As I said many times before, I should have not held my jump button that much. If the challenge of your level is much higher, the checkpoint frequency should also be much higher as a result, so players don't have to repeat challenges over and over and get very frustrated. What happened was I didn't hold right enough, so the Yamasees on the left, they were a little bit too much to the left, so I couldn't make the jump there. I don't know what I did differently over there, but I saw I made my way across this time. This is one of those precision/timing-based challenges where you have to place the Yamasees the correct way so you can make your way across or bounce your way across. For that temporary pause over there, I thought the game crashed and I'd have to repeat this stage, but no, it was just a load or something. Thankfully that was the end of the stage. I was expecting there to be one last really tough challenge, but no, that was the last part. Nice way to end off the stage and showcase how to use the top spin over long gaps. Well, it really demonstrated how to lure the Yamasees as well. I believe they're called Yamasees. Essentially, it started out with easy ones over solid ground, gradually going to tougher and tougher ones over spikes, over bottomless pits, over longer periods of time, and really shows how you need to be quick on your feet, but also figure out and time your way through so you can lure them in the correct fashion, but not go so high that you end up impaling yourself on the spikes. So good work, Kuno. Definitely an interesting gimmick stage, although a little bit tougher near the end. It's not too bad. It's, I would say, above average to somewhat difficult in terms of difficulty, relative to the other Mega Man levels I've played so far. So that's the end of this part. Overall, my favorite stages of this part were Pungent Pipeworks, as well as Neocastle Siege. Pungent Pipeworks being an overall really good, really well-designed stage with nice difficulty progression, enemy placement, etc. It's another solid work from Mixsup as usual. Neocastle Siege for nice introduction of gimmicks, and I really liked it for the creative up and down movement of the footholders. Although the engine bugs with how you can get squashed against the ceiling, wall, and rather odd configurations due to how the footholders interact with the engine physics did bring the stage down a bit. Perhaps when that's fixed in the future, this stage will be a lot better. An honorable mention would probably be Submerged Cavern or Frosted Toppings. Also pretty nice stages, but they were kind of hampered by the same issue that I've seen, was the fact that they felt like traditional Mega Man levels, or were intended to be, more so for Frosted Toppings, but the problem was they didn't introduce their gimmicks in a proper fashion. So I would hold Submerged Cavern as a better honorable mention, mainly due to the middle segment with all those pole legs, creating platforms and making your way across, as well as the last segment where you have to slide and destroy all those junk blocks, but you have to be careful and keep sliding your way off the falling platforms, as well as destroying all the batons and the hotheads. So overall, I like all the levels in this part. Certainly a little bit less challenging outside of Jumping Jungle Jimjams, but I like some parts where the levels are a bit easier and more straightforward. So on the next part, I'll probably be covering more levels from the Reddit level sharing thread, the latest one that is. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!